of four parties, and we don't have any dominant party. Nevertheless, we need to have some leadership, and it has been decided. As you know, we are a coalition of four parties, and we don't have any dominant party. Nevertheless, we need to have some leadership, and it has been decided, of course, that I should be the candidate for Prime Ministership, and now I have been sworn in as the Prime Minister of Malaysia. So currently the only member of the government that has been anointed is Prime Minister. The Prime Minister will then have to form the cabinet, because if he will be the cabinet, he should lead the country. Now, forming a cabinet, the first cabinet is not the easiest thing. It's simply because we are a coalition, and we had decided that before the election we should not name the ministers of the cabinet, for fear that it might lead to some delays and maybe disappointment on the part of those who are not selected. So now that we have won the election and we have appointed the Prime Minister, it's the Prime Minister's duty to form the cabinet. We are proceeding according to the law, and we are proceeding according to proper rules of procedures. Now the first thing we have decided, as I have informed you the other day, is to name 10 ministries. And I have given the name of the 10 ministries. But apart from that, we already recognize the Prime Minister, who is a member of the cabinet, and the Deputy Prime Minister is one of the persons named even before the election. So we have the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister. And the first meeting held was of the 5 top men of the party, the 4 presidents and 1 chairman of the party. And we had a meeting yesterday, and we made certain decisions. And the decision is that we will name 3 of the, which is confirmed today, 3 of the senior-most ministers. Of course, that to add to the 2, the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. The 3 senior-most ministers really represent the position, the leadership of the parties concerned, which are not yet part of the government. Part of the government is already decided, that is Prime Minister and Deputy, and now we decided to appoint the ministers of Finance, the Minister of Defense, and the Minister of Home Affairs. And the names for these 3 are: Finance will be Mr. Lim Guan Kim. He is also from the DAP. Then we have the Minister, the President of Amanah, who is Ahmad Sabri. And then the 5th member of the top leadership would be Tan Sri Muhyiddin. He will be Minister of Home Affairs. This defense. I haven't said. Oh, I forgot to say. Zabu is the Minister of Defense, and Fifi is Minister of Home Affairs. The 4 parties in the coalition. We have not named other ministers. There will be 7 other ministers, We have listed the names of the ministries, but we request the parties, the four parties in the coalition, to submit 3 names from each party for the consideration of the Prime Minister. So the final decision as to the person, as to the minister and the ministries will be made by the Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister, of course, will not only accept the 3 names, but would, where necessary, hold consultation with the heads of the parties. Of course, there may be overlappings and things like that. That will be sorted out and decided by the Prime Minister. Now, that will be the 10 first cabinet ministers. We want to have a small ministry cabinet of 25 members. Now, although we say it is a cabinet of 25 members, there may be a necessity later on to have ministers coming from Sabah and Sarawak and maybe some other organizations. So we have a place for Sabah and Sarawak, and again for Sabah and Sarawak we need to find out their stand. As far as Sabah is concerned, the Warisan Party, headed by Shafi Abdal, have indicated that they fully support the Prime Minister in the first place and the government set up by the Prime Minister. So actually now the numbers will increase in terms of the government party. Now having determined who would be the initial cabinet of 10, to be followed by other appointments to bring it up to 25, reserving certain places after 25 for Sabah and Sarawak. We realize, of course, that many of us have less experience or no experience in running a government. We need some expertise on this. Of course, the expertise must come from people with knowledge or previous knowledge of administration or being in the government or having held some responsible posts. And we have decided to set up a council of elders, who will, or rather council of eminent persons who will do the initial studies of submitted by the officers or other parties. They will do before they prepare papers for the cabinet. This is in all this, of course, initially or rather eventually the papers for the cabinet will be prepared by the ministries. But in the interim, before we have a proper ministries going, we need to do investigations on a lot of things. Some of these things may involve the ministries and the personnel themselves. So we need people who are not involved to be vetting and studying reports being made either by the ministries or by certain bodies which we will consult. We will get all the data on various organizations, including those running government funds, and also some of the ministries which may have been involved in some of the previous government's misdeeds. So this council of group of eminent persons would consist of Tun Daim Zainuddin, Tan Sri Zeti Akhtar Aziz, Tan Sri Hassan Marikan, Mr. Robert Hocknian, and Professor Dr. Jomo Kwame Sundar. These people, you only like Jomo, not like. Okay, never mind. So these people will study a lot of things submitted to them later on things that has been happening over the past years from 2009 until now, because we want to take action if necessary as quickly as possible. And other members of this committee will be invited later on. But one thing that we feel is very important is the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Defense. A lot of things have happened, and we need to have them focus on finance and defense initially. Later on, of course, the Ministry of Home Affairs will have to be advised on what they need to do. So that is the decision that we have reached up to this evening. If you have any question or need further clarification, you are free to ask any one of us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm from. I would like to ask the new finance minister. After 44 years, becoming Chinese Malaysia finance minister. So, what will you do in the future to be different to the previous? What kind of reform will you perform in the future?
You're from?
I'm from Phoenix, China.
Phoenix, China. I'm sorry, I don't consider myself as a Chinese. I am a Malaysian. So I do not know that it has been 44 years that long. Thank you for counting for me. As I said, we are all Malaysians here. And I think our focus will be to help Malaysians to ensure that Malaysians are not left out. And also, as Tun has said, in the campaign, that we want to review all contracts that are not in favor or does not benefit Malaysians, to ensure that the rights of Malaysians are protected, their job opportunities are protected, and their business opportunities are protected. I think that will be one of our main considerations. But I think the primary focus will be still on helping those who find very hard to make ends meet. So I think our focus will be see how we can make their lives a little bit easier, whether in terms of abolishing GST, BRIM, maintaining BRIM payments, and of course the petrol prices. So I'll leave that to the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm from Japanese. First of all, congrats to the new government. And the world is watching now. And the issue is that the minister is not yet the prime minister you're supposed to announce today, which is today. However, how quickly, including foreign minister, that you have all the international meetings coming all the time. Will you tell me exactly when exactly you take quickly as possible when you are really seeking for? The other issue is all the projects now kind of told us they are going to review all the projects that is going on, especially under Chinese One Belt, One Road in Malaysia, almost 40 projects. It's a lot of things compared to other regions of ASEAN. Is it especially East Coast Railway project and also high-speed train between Malaysia and Singapore? Two of them is quite a crucial projects are going on. And first of all, the east one is already quite critical. But the second one, between high-speed train between Malaysia and Singapore, is it beneficial for Malaysia? For example, because in Japan we have.
Can you please?
Can you tell me how you high-speed train project would you like to review? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, in the first place, Malaysia will maintain friendly relations with all countries of the world. We will not favor anyone. We will be free to be criticized and to criticize other countries. Secondly, with regard to all those contracts, we will review them to see how they favor us. We want to benefit from those contracts, and whatever decision we make will be based on the study. And thirdly, of course, for the setting up of the cabinet, we will do it in as soon as possible. By next week, we'll have all the 10 places filled, and we will try to expedite the setting up of the full cabinet within 2 or 3 weeks. Thank you.
That former Prime Minister Najib Razak has just stepped down as UMNO president. He's also had an immigration blacklist. Is this an indication that investigations are ongoing into Mr. Najib? I understand the IGP was just here as well.
There is sufficient evidence that an investigation into certain things that has been done by the former Prime Minister has to be done, and if necessary, the rule of law will apply.
Previously, the whole idea about Bina Semula Negara was based on saving the voters from Barisan Nasional. But right now we are seeing so many of these Barisan Nasional MPs are jumping over to Pakatan. So is there a deadline for this, or are we going to see Pakatan just becoming another Barisan 2.0? When are we going to close the doors on that? Because the voters did not vote for that, they voted for Pakatan. By taking them in, is it fair to the voters?
Yeah, the previous law, the previous government was led by certain leaders. Of course, a lot of people have to follow their leaders, but if they forswear their previous allegiance and they are free from any charges and they want to join any of the parties or to become independent but support the party, we will accept them. But each case will be studied as to their involvement in the previous government.
So is there a possibility they might be given any positions in the cabinet, or that
That
will be reviewed?
lots of possibilities, but I can't determine what the possibilities are at this moment. Okay. Huh? Dia sebagai timbalan Perdana Menteri. Who?
Your meeting, the outcome of your meeting with Tun Taib Mahmud is
Taib Mahmud.
under BN.
Oh, Mahmud. Ini Taib Mahmud, not Syed Mahmud. Yeah, we meet with a lot of people to gain, to have an insight into their views, to find what are beneficial for us and what are not beneficial, and we will act accordingly.
Is it true that you gave immigration instruction to bar Dato' Najib from leaving the country, and as well as a list of few other leaders, few other members in the government?
It is true that I prevented Najib from leaving the country. As far as I know, he and his wife, I'm not aware of any other people.
We expected 10 names today, but we only got 3. Is there any disagreement between within the coalition parties and others?
Where is it?
We are expecting 10 names, but we only got 3 today. So is there any disagreement? How many? How many?
There are, all the ministries are there, but we can't like saying abracadabra and everything happens. It takes time. We have to study those people. We have to know their qualification, their fitness for whichever ministry, and we have also to think that we are a four-party coalition, and all the four parties must be represented in the cabinet. At the same time, we are conscious that many factions, many, even races are involved. We don't want to be seen to be governed by, some people might think that it is governed by one race or the other. So all these things have to be taken into consideration in the appointment of the ministers, which is why we need to take a little bit of time.
When will Anwar be released, and how soon will he come back to the politics, and what will be his position in the future?
What we have decided is that we will seek pardon from the king. This process is has certain rules and regulations which we have to adhere to. So we will expedite this as soon as possible for his release and for his pardon. As to his role in the future, of course, that will be determined by the party.
What will be the future of 1MDB?
Are you going to remove the 1MDB Auditor General's report from the OSA?
What is that?
1MDB report, Official Secrets Act.
Well, we have to do that. In fact, I have given instruction already to the police to make remove the restriction placed on it by the Official Secrets Act. They will then submit the report to me, and I will study it in order to release it.
What is going to happen to the Attorney General? Are investigations already ongoing into the Attorney General?
We have placed certain restrictions on a number of people who may be involved in wrongdoing or in making wrong decisions. So at the moment, we are, we don't have an Attorney General.
So what about
You ask too many questions. Yeah.
Just want to ask, right, on the 1MDB, will Sethi Aziz be leading into the investigation of 1MDB? On 1MDB, will she be leading investigation of 1MDB?
Who?
Sethi Aziz.
Huh?
Former Bank Negara.
No. They have a committee. The whole setup is made up of a group of prominent people, including Sethi. They have some expertise. Of course, they, if necessary, they can choose some other experts to work with them, whether as part of their group or as a kind of subsidiary body.
When did you meet with Robert Iyer for the recruitment of Council of Elders?
He's Malaysian.
First question, is there anyone identified for the AG? Second question, is there any possibility for the effective to be abolished?
We are considering names, but we have to study the suitability of the candidates. We can't just make a decision, okay? You always too many questions. Okay?
All right.
Oh yeah, so okay? It is at this one. Yeah.
How soon could the 1MDB investigation be reopened, and how quickly do you expect approval?
We want to do it as quickly as possible. It is a very complex thing because it involves a lot of people, it involves a lot of decisions made, and the money, as you know, has to be investigated as to the money laundering, as you know, and we have to contact America, Switzerland, Singapore, and Luxembourg, Switzerland, and we have to contact them to get all the data on what happened to 1MDB money. We have to sift through and determine which reports are valid, which reports are not valid. So it will take time, but we will want to act as soon as possible on whatever little information that justifies ourselves taking action, including, of course, detention or arrest or even preventing them from going abroad.
Is that why Najib Razak can't leave the country because of 1MDB? Is that why you're not allowing him to leave the country?
There are a lot of complaints against him, all of which have to be investigated, and because of the complaints being made, and we find that some of the complaints are valid, we have to act quickly because we don't want to be saddled with the problem of extradition from other countries.
Okay, sir.
Apa dia?
Bila angkat sumpah kabinet? Bila angkat sumpah kabinet?
As soon as we have appointed them, I want to do things as quickly as possible. But it's not always easy to just make a determination when candidates come from various parties.
Okay, sir.
Any special importance on the representation of women in your cabinet?
Oh, yes.
Representation.
Women. Yeah,
Women.
Prime Minister,
Yes.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Women and young people, young minds are needed in the cabinet.
How many between the cabinet lineup?
Oh, we have answered that just now.
25, I said just now.
Yeah, okay.
When did you last speak to Robert Paul?
Yeah?
When did you last spoken to Robert Paul about joining this?
About 4 years ago. At that time I was out of the government. I had no need to talk to him about his appointment at that time.
Thank you, sir. Sir. It's in the mood. You can enjoy.
The what seat?
You can say because of the stock market. Stock market, because
Yeah.
if anything cushion any volatility.
We will watch the market and we will take necessary action whichever way market goes.
Swearing in will only take place when full cabinet lineup.
It will take place earlier when we have appointed the 10 cabinet members.
Sebentar tadi IGP dengan Ketua Angkatan Tentera datang jumpa dengan tu tadi. Pasal apa selain dia buat ini?
Saya kena bagi arahan kepada mereka tentang banyak perkara yang perlu dilakukan sekarang ini. Setakat yang ada kuasa kepada saya dan tanggungjawab mereka. Umpamanya kalau saya nak suruh tak bagi Najib keluar negara, saya tak boleh pergi ke airport tahan Najib. Saya kena tanya dan suruh orang yang berkuasa.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Lampai tangan. You need another half an hour, you got it.
Hello, handphone, sit down. How are you feeling? Guys, press release.